How's it going, everyone? I hope you're having a kick-ass week. Today, what I'm going to do is taste 3 different versions of my homemade UJSSM whiskey, American whiskey, moonshine, whatever you want to call it. Welcome to Distiller, everyone. This is the channel all about chasing the craft of home distillation and making it a legitimate hobby. So if that's what you're into, team, hit the subscribe button down below. Don't forget to ring the notification bell right next to it, and I'll see you guys next time so you don't miss a thing. If you've been following along with the channel recently, you will know that I have been working on UJSSM lately. It's a whole lot of fun. If you don't know what it is, guys, it is a super simple beginner's recipe that creates a sour mash whiskey. So you're creating multiple generations, and each generation is sort of progressively getting better, essentially. That is a super down and dirty description of it. So what I will do is stick a card up top for the whole playlist of UJSSM. You can jump in and watch that to catch up if you want to, and in the future, when this video becomes old, the new videos will be added to that as well. Does that make sense? I think that makes sense, right? Another thing that you'll probably know if you've been watching the channel is that I forgot to save any of the original White Dog from my first spirit run of the UJSSM. Guess what? I found some. That is literally all that's left. I found it at the back of the spirits cupboard. It was labeled, so I know that that is exactly what it is, and smelling it confirms. Yeah, it's pretty obviously something along those lines. There was one slight problem, which was that it was in a large bottle and only this much left in it. It's been sat there for about a month like that, so that may throw things off a little bit. But what I want to do is compare, this is the amalgamation of generations 1 through 4, and I want to compare that against the spirit run that I've done of the generation number 5, which was the last video I did. Seeing as we're at it, I also want to taste at the same time some of, this is exactly the same stuff as this, exactly the same blend, but it's been sitting on oak since mid-December, so it's what, 2.5 months old now, I guess, at the time I'm recording this. Anyway, guys, I figured comparing the 3 of these to each other could be quite interesting, so let's get on to it. And because I'm a muppet and I will find a way to screw this up, I want to label these glasses, just these, the 2 white ones. So that is generation 4. This one is going to be generation 5, even though it's actually 1 through 4, but you get the gist, right? Anyway, now both of these have been proofed down to 40%, so we're comparing apples with apples. This, however, is still sitting at 57%, and I will proof that down when I get around to tasting it. First up, I want to taste the generations 1 through 4, because I haven't tasted this in quite some time. So it's pleasant and sweet and a little corny. Corny as in tasting like corn, not, yeah, you know what I mean. There just doesn't seem to be any sort of fireworks going on off in my mouth there. It's a little bit, tastes a little bit empty. It is very smooth though, I must say. Let's have a taste of the latest one I've done. Oh, wow! Yeah, okay, so this on the nose smells like not a whole lot of anything. This on the nose is totally different. It's Werther's original, almost a little bit of apple in there as well. Completely different. Almost uncomparable to each other, to be perfectly honest with you. I'm going to stop myself right there, and before I go into the weeds anymore, trying to describe the difference in flavors between the 2 of these to you, I want to make a few disclaimers. First up, it is totally conceivable that all of the processes after fermentation, so distilling and blending basically, were completely different for these 2, in that they were different enough that the difference in flavors could be coming from my process, not from the recipe itself or the fact that it's different generations. Number 2, remember this was sitting in a almost empty bottle for a long time, so this could have oxidized a fair bit in that time. And that could account for some of the flavor differences as well. Seeing as those things are now completely out of my control, I'm just going to basically ignore any scientific flaws in this process from here on in, and just compare them as if they weren't there. But I just wanted to mention it so you guys know that I do understand that those things could be at play here. Alright, time to geek out a little bit more. Generation number 5 in my mind is completely, like, just not even the same ballpark, and it is superior in every single way. It has more flavor, it's got more depth, more character, more complexity, more layers, I guess you would say, as well, compared to this one, which is pleasant, it's smooth, it's nice, but there's just, it's a little bit like talking to yourself, do you know what I mean? The amalgamation of generation 1 through 4 has kind of got this nondescript sweetness to it. It doesn't taste like butterscotch, it tastes a little bit corny, but but those two flavors don't feel connected. The sweetness and the corn feel like two different things in this. It's almost like when you first taste it, you get sweetness. So imagine this is over time. First goes into your mouth and you get sweetness, and then almost just nothing, and then a little bit of corn at the end in terms of flavor. And the warming sensation kind of comes in between, which does fill it up a bit, but that's a sensation as opposed to flavors. And the aroma is almost just not there. There's not a lot to it. It's the same sort of just nondescript corn flavor that you get on the tongue, but on the nose, and very, very subtle. Generation number 5, on the other hand, right from the beginning, as soon as you smell it, there's more to it. It's intricate. It's got that butterscotch disharmony that I was talking about in the last video. So I still can't quite put my finger on what that is, but it's the part of butterscotch that stops it from just being sweet. Oh, I don't know how else to describe it, but that's the biggest thing on the nose. It also has a dark fruit, or maybe a probably not fig, more like raisins and date or plum, something like that, dried plum flavor or aroma to it. And when you drink it, you get hit with this almost sweet and sour sensation at the beginning, which peaks and then lets go into the butterscotch. As you swallow, this sort of long rich flavor lingers in your mouth for quite some time. I mean, it's been 30-40 seconds since I swallowed, and I can still taste a lot of it lingering in my mouth. So the amount of flavor that is packed into this spirit compared to this one is kind of staggering to me, to be perfectly honest. There's also a really big difference in mouthfeel between the two. This, to me, generation number 5 to me is fuller, has more body. It's almost creamy or buttery, whereas this, the first 4 generations, has a slightly more light but kind of piercing quality to it. Once again, that could be my inability to separate the heads in this one, not sure, but there is definitely a huge difference between the two. So everything I've said up until this point, I've tried to be relatively objective about it. And that is maybe where I think generation number 5 loses its slight edge, just a little bit for me, compared to 4. While it is more complex, more interesting, more flavorful, it is also relatively sweet. You know what? It's not actually any sweeter, I don't think, than this one. It's just that it has sweet flavors layered on top of it in a much more sort of dense fashion than this one does. And while I think that's really interesting and delicious when I'm sitting here sipping it, I'm not so sure whether I would want to go back to that over and over again. Like, even just finishing this glass, to me, I'm not really in the mood for it right now, but I wouldn't say it's a chore. But I feel like I need a little bit of a bite to it, something a little bit more to it than just the sweetness to really make it moreish and make me want to keep drinking it. I'm hoping and thinking that that's maybe where the wood will come into this a little bit. Not to add tannin, but to start heading that way just a little bit. Now, in saying all of that, I totally understand that bourbon and corn-based American whiskeys are just going to be sweeter than other spirits as well. And I'm cool with that. I understand that. In any case, let's taste some of this stuff, which I haven't tasted in quite a while. Just to remind you guys, the wood-aged UJSSM whiskey is exactly the same blend, came out of the same pot as this. This is sat white all that time, and this has been sitting on a mixture of charred and toasted American oak for about 2.5 months. Let's have a taste, eh? Ooh, yes. So straight away the nose is much more interesting. A little bit of vanilla, some quite woody, sort of oaky flavors as well. The more raw end of oak, sort of towards the, you know, just like literally wood flavor. I wonder, and I really hope that that's going to come through on the taste as well. It really does. So I'm getting lots of oak, it's more buttery, the mouthfeel is more rounded out. I'm getting a hint of the char in there as well. Not full-on smokiness, more just char and ash. And to me, that is a much more rounded experience, and it's not just sweet for the sake of sweet anymore, even though this is not as sweet as this, obviously. You know what it is? It's kind of taking the sweetness, and instead of just being sweet for the sake of it, it's giving it a purpose and giving it a reason to be sweet. In my mind, anyway. Interesting. You know what else is really interesting is that there's a hint of sort of spice showing up in this as well now. Pepper and clove, something like that. And that to me is more interesting as well. I enjoy those sorts of flavors when combined with the big sweet stuff as well. So this is beginning to get quite enjoyable, actually. In terms of objectively kind of assessing these spirits and saying which I think I'm most proud of creating, I guess, it has to be this still. Even comparing a white spirit against a aged spirit, I do think this is a superior spirit. In terms of enjoyability and what I would rather sit down and drink, this one's definitely off the table for both of those things. You know what? I think I might have to go with another taste. You know what? I think I could go either way depending on my mood and what I felt like at the time. I really do. This is definitely more interesting, more flavor, but it does sort of skew more to the sweetness for my taste. You know what would be really interesting? Now something interesting is starting to happen. It's the pepper. It's the pepper and the clove flavors that make this jump for me. So I really hope that I can get some of those flavors into this when I start aging it. This is just me shooting straight from the hip. But I'm thinking some of those flavors may come from the more heavily charred oak. And honestly, I kind of like those barrel char and smoke, or even heading towards sort of smoke flavors. I really enjoy those. I know a lot of people don't like that in their bourbon or American whiskey. But for me, I'm guessing I'm going to do at least one experiment that is quite high on that for this UJSSM. Actually, this is the experiment I made up quite a while ago that had a whole lot of just smoke pumped into this jar, sealed up and left. It is made from the Bastard Whiskey Seconds, but that's all good. It is super strong too, so I'm just going to put a little dribble in there and see what happens. Unfortunately, I do know that this has a fair bit of tails in there, and I can definitely taste that now. But I'll see if I can ignore that, tasting this. It didn't make a whole lot of difference, to be honest. We'll go with a little bit more. You know what's coming out most from that? It's actually not the smoke, it's the coffee beans that I put in there. The smoke is coming through a little bit, but not nearly as much as I thought it would. The coffee, on the other hand, I might have to think about doing something with that as well, because that is quite tasty, I gotta say. But the most important takeaway for me after adding that sort of smoky little tincture stuff into this is that it has given it a crisp bite to it right at the point where the aftertaste starts coming in. So now you taste it, you get all the big flavors, you swallow, and instead of being left with this really sweet, lingering butterscotch taste for ages, there's butterscotch and some sort of spiky, jaggy flavors fighting against each other on the aftertaste. And that to me makes it a whole lot more moreish. I want to go back and drink more now. I want to go back and taste again what might happen next time. And it's almost a feeling of you don't know that the next sip is going to taste exactly the same as the last sip, and that the flavor that I've got left in my mouth now is not going to be the same as the flavor when that first hits my tongue. And I know that might seem really wanky to some of you, but to me that is the essence of what makes something drinkable. That feeling of, even 2 minutes after you've had your last sip, you can taste something in your mouth that makes you want to go back for more. It's like the potato chip effect, right? Once you pop, you can't stop. So for me and my taste, that is going to be one of the main goals I'm aiming for out of aging this generation number 5 UJSSM, is to give it some bite and contrast in the flavors that linger in your mouth afterwards to make it more drinkable, which is honestly a little bit scary because this is insanely smashable right now. Jeez. Anyway guys, I'm glad I've done this little exercise because it has sort of shown to me that my hunch was correct, and that I do much prefer generation 5 to generation 1 through 4, and it gives me a little bit of ammunition to go into deciding exactly how I want to age the spirits from here on in, both on kind of an objective level, but more importantly on a personal level of what I want to drink. Also, don't remember, the chances are I'm probably going to have at least one live stream between now and then, so if you want to see that, make sure the bell notification is lit up so you get a notification for it. Or if that doesn't work for you, have a look for the Still It mailer link in the description down below, and I'll send out a notification on that too. Like always guys, thanks for watching the video. If you liked it, leave me a thumbs up. If you really liked it and you're not subscribed yet, have a think about doing so, and I'll catch you guys next week when we oak this bad boy. See ya.